It's now time for Ask Zach, my favorite part of the show. In case you don't know how it works, you go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. You give $1 a month. You can give more if you want to. Please do. It literally helps pay my rent. But the way it works, $1 a month gives you access to send in questions on Patreon. Now, I do not guarantee to answer your question on the show. My only guarantee is I look at every single question with my eyeballs. I pick the top couple, try to read them on the show when I can, and I really enjoy it. We got a lot here today, kind of a cornucopia of questions, like a bunch of general questions. And then also I gave you guys a prompt. I said, hey, send in what you thought were the most unexpected things to happen this year in the NFL. Or really, what surprised you most about the 2020 NFL season? And the first, submission of the day for that prompt, let me find it. Sterling wrote in, and a lot of people wrote in about this, but I chose Sterling. So I think it was the most concise and most interesting kind of way of putting it. He said, I was surprised by the Jets beating the Rams, then the Browns, and now having a good chance to beat the Patriots. Yeah, crazy, man. The Jets are playing good football recently. Sam Darnold looks, I always liked Sam Darnold. I always thought Sam Darnold really was kind of dimly shining, kind of amazingly, but making some really good plays, and nobody was taking notice of it. But it's just crazy to me that the Jets are playing good football. They look well coached. They've won 2 games in a row. They might beat the Patriots on Sunday, which is like, if that happens, I will be beside myself. It's unbelievable to me the turnaround the Jets have made recently. Now, Sharky writes in saying, I was surprised by Jared Goff. Not for a good reason. Yeah, Jared Goff is, he's plateaued. He's really not made any progress in a long time, and he's actually looked really bad recently. Now, I want to give him some credit where credit's due. Jared Goff got hurt last week. I think he hurt his throwing thumb, and no matter what happens, if you're hurt, you're playing through it. I thought Jared Goff really made an effort to stay in the game and keep playing, and I respect that, but Jared Goff has made some inexcusable, bad, awful mistakes this year that I just am flabbergasted by, and Jared Goff has been surprising because he's been frustratingly bad for long stretches of this year, and it's just inexcusable. Now, Ali writes in. Ali says, I was shocked by how bad the Broncos have been this year. A lot of people seem to have thought they could make a run to the wild card round, but it's just another dreadful losing season. What I'm wondering, Zach, is which wild card team do you think is a dark horse to make a run deep into the playoffs? So I think, Ali, do not forget that part of why the Broncos were so bad is they had injury after injury after injury. It started with Von Miller, then they got their top receiver got injured, and they had a lot of people tear ACLs and have all kinds of problems. So the Broncos were devastated, very similar to the way that the 49ers were devastated by injuries. Then you had a young quarterback who was learning a new offense with no real offseason, and Jerry Jeudy struggled. And Jerry Jeudy and Drew Lock have not been able to connect or be on the same page at all this year. So I'm actually not surprised that the Broncos were bad, but that's only because of what happened. Going into the year, you'd never expect the Broncos were terrible. I thought they were going to have a great year. But guys got hurt more and more and more, and COVID hit them, and it's been a really unpredictable wild year for the Broncos. So there's a reason why they've been so bad. It's because of injuries and because of COVID. Now, my dark horse wild card team, I said it earlier in the show, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have the firepower to win a Super Bowl from the wild card round. They have a legendary quarterback. They have amazing offensive weapons. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Oh, yeah, Antonio Brown. Rob Gronkowski. They have players that are coming off their bench that are unbelievable. Starters, Pro Bowl players coming off the bench. And we're forgetting how talented they are on the offensive side of the ball. Not to mention, their defense is really, really good. And with the right circumstances and the right things going well in a row, the Buccaneers could very easily win a Super Bowl. They have a ton of firepower on offense and on defense, and they're getting hot at the end of the year, playing their best football recently. They look in sync. Guys are lining up really well. Their chemistry has been growing all year, and the Buccaneers might peak at the right time, and they could win a Super Bowl from the wild card berth. Ben wrote in and said, I'd say the biggest surprise would be Justin Herbert's growth. You get too much flack for your analysis on him before the draft. There were clear red flags there. However, he's played phenomenally and starting to utilize the potential of his physical abilities. Then he says, other than this, I'd say Josh Allen's growth as a player. Before this season, people were already calling him a bust. Well, I thought he'd have a jump from year 2 to 3. I didn't think it'd be anywhere near as this big of a jump. So I actually want to say, I really thought, I don't remember. We'll do a year predictions versus reality, where I talk about what I say in my predictions episode compared to what really happened for every team. I remember believing, I thought I said that Josh Allen was going to take a big step forward this year. I thought maybe it was Kyler Murray, but I thought Josh Allen, I didn't expect him to be maybe an MVP winner. Like, Josh Allen's gotten astronomically better, way more accurate, way more confident, reading defenses very well. And part of it's Stephon Diggs. Part of it, though, is just that Josh Allen has really become a very self-aware player. He's very confident in what he's doing. And, Justin Herbert, huge surprise to me. I could not have expected Justin Herbert to do as well as he did. I stand by everything I said about Justin Herbert before the NFL draft. I stand by. Now, it's clear that the problem by analysis was that the fault should really go on the coaching at Oregon, that he had coaching him rather than on Justin Herbert. I think maybe he's a very good academic student. Maybe grades were a distraction for him. And I want to really, this is important. I want you to hear this. I had a theory about Justin Herbert. I said, why has he made the same mistakes from his freshman, sophomore, junior, and now senior year? There were mistakes and bad habits that never got fixed at Oregon from Justin Herbert. Now, my hypothesis, a theory was, does he love football? Because why are these problems not getting solved? Now, I think it's pretty clear Justin Herbert loves football, but I get a lot of hate from people saying, like, how could you question whether or not he loves football? And I just was spitballing, saying, look, why is this guy's problems not getting solved? Why is he making the same mistakes year in and year out? Now, with better coaching, I think one of the keys to success with Justin Herbert that nobody's talking about is his quarterback coach, Pep Hamilton. Pep Hamilton is a guy who was actually an XFL coach of the DC Defenders. He did a great job there. And I really think that the reason why I hope Anthony Lynn does not get fired by the Chargers, a lot of people want their head coach to get fired. Do not do it, because this coaching staff made a lot of progress helping Justin Herbert develop. Don't you dare mess with that chemistry and that progress. And it's risky to me to fire any of the Chargers coaching staff, because you don't want to lose to people that help Justin Herbert become what he's become in the NFL, because his habits are better. He's making fewer mistakes. He's more accurate. Like, clearly got great coaching, and that's from Anthony Lynn's coaching staff with the Chargers currently. Aiden wrote in, I love this kind of pointing this out. He said, for the first year ever, there was an NFL game on every day of the week. Nothing to do with football per se, but probably never going to happen again. Yeah, we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's never going to happen again. Unless COVID sticks around, I don't think it'll be as... I am praying that by next football season, COVID is not where it is now. But it is truly unbelievable that we got a game on every single day of the week this year, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. So, just a wild, wild time. And I gotta say, I don't really like it. I really like this week in the NFL, Week 17. Every single game takes place on Sunday. Oh, I don't think it's a Monday. Maybe there's a Monday game. I don't think there's a Monday game. Like, I gotta say though, I hate trying to cover Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, and then a Saturday game. Like, it's so hard to cover a league that is so spread out. And so it's unexpected and surprising. I got to say, I'm sure people that don't cover football were so happy that pretty much every night they turned on their TV, there was a football game. Oh, boy, is it hard to cover sports when they're spread. Like, that's why basketball is so hard to cover, because every night there's more games to try to track and follow and keep up with. And, oh, my gosh, it's so hard, especially if you don't have a team of people and you're not recording a show with... I don't have writers. I don't have people editing for me. I do all the work myself, and it's... Oh, boy, I love my job. It is hard work to try to figure it all out. Caleb writes in. He says, I was really surprised by how the extra 7th seed for the playoffs was a good idea. With so many quality teams this year, I feel satisfied with the quality of playoff teams and the extra reward for the best conference team. Yeah, so the number 1 seed is even more meaningful this year because you get a bye week and home field advantage. That week off, oh boy, that's a big incentive and a big deal. I think that's why so many teams, the Seattle Seahawks, the New Orleans Saints, they want that bye week. And that is why they're fighting so hard to play their starters and win their game. Now, I think you could get an artificial bye week by just resting your starters and saying, I'm the 3 seed, that's fine. But however Seattle and New Orleans wants to do it, go ahead, do it your way. I think that they are depending on factors they can't control. But yeah, oh my goodness, like part of why there's so much, division. The bad teams are really bad, and the good teams are better than ever, I feel like, this year. Now, the NFC East, part of that is because there's only so many wins to go around this year. And when I do like NFL predictions, I always kind of have more teams in the middle because it's just, you would think that wins would be more evenly distributed. They're not evenly distributed at all this year. There's bad, and then there's good. And there's 10-5 teams right now in the AFC. We could have an 11-win team not make the NFL playoffs. That's crazy to me. So, yeah, I am surprised at how successful the 7th playoff team has been this year, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out this year. Final surprise. Jack writes in, he says, I was surprised at how awful Nick Mullins was this year. Just like you, I thought he was one of the best backups in the league. However, his time as the 49ers starter this year showed an almost digression from his previous starts in recent past years. The 49ers offense looked way better with C.J. Beathard as the starter. I know you probably didn't watch a lot of 49ers games this year, but if you ever do a deep dive on Nick Mullins' 2020 season, you'll see just how poorly he performed. Jack, I actually want to push back. I watched a lot of Nick Mullins this year. I watched every game. I missed like 1 week. Otherwise, I watched every game he played this year. And you say like Nick Mullins was bad because here's the thing. Nick Mullins is a backup quarterback. Nick Mullins should play maximum 2 to 3 games a year coming off the bench if your quarterback is hurt or for whatever reason. Now, not only were there a ton of injuries around Nick Mullins this year in San Francisco and COVID, people missing because of COVID and all kinds of things you could not predict or prepare for. But a guy who really should only ever play 2 or 3 games max in a season, Nick Mullins, played in 10 games for the 49ers this year. He should never play that much. The word exposed is funny, but he should never be doing that much during a season. I still stand by Nick Mullins as a great backup. If you need a guy for a game or two during the season who can know your offense very well and run your system and, for the most part, not miss very much of a beat, that's Nick Mullins. He's a great backup. But again, Nick Mullins wasn't a backup this year. Nick Mullins was a starting quarterback, and Nick Mullins isn't a starting quarterback. So I thought that, because he's not a starting caliber quarterback, he got exposed for what he is, but I'm not shocked. Nick Mullins should never play 10 games in any season of the NFL. He should play 2 or 3 max. And so I want to push back. I think he's still a great backup, but he's a backup, not a starter. He became a starter this year. He should not be a starter in the NFL.